here.
You see, on the prophet's word, there's no more guesswork. There may be a little anxiety. There may be that little doubt that begins to come in there, but you have to tell doubt to take the back seat on the prophet's word. And I want those that have done the $35 seed like I've asked, I want you, only those that have done that seed, I want you to write on the top of your paper, in obedience right now, free at last. And those of you that are not in this particular picture frame tonight, you need to find a way to frame yourself so you can be what?
Free at last.
Free at last. And I want you to know that it got worse. But 15 hours before the execution, they had already stripped their clothes off of them, gave the clothes to the relatives. Say your last goodbyes to your children, mother. Say your last goodbye to your siblings. They're about to be hung. They knew that South Africa carries out their word because there was never a hanging that they decreed that they've ever rescinded. But there was a little voice running in the heads of those relatives that we took a journey all the way to New York. And there was a prophet that spoke to us in the month of February, 1988, and began to say to us that our seed shall live. Right before the execution, when I went to South Africa after apartheid, I went and met with the general and the brigadier sergeant, the one that was overseeing the execution. I asked them what happened. They says, we cannot even tell you today except that a miracle happened. And when they were supposed to execute, they suspended it and then suspended them again. And then now they walk free in a new South Africa. I dare everybody on the line to say right now, free at last.
Free at last.
At last.
Then my mind begins to go back to the story of one of the partners that had sown a $1,000 seed. Am I right, Prophetess Boyce?
Yes, Master Prophet. You're perfectly correct, Master Prophet.
And they were saying to her, this case does not look good. Her lawyer was no doubt saying, the case does not look good. Take a plea. But the prophet said, nothing would come of this situation. He'll be set free. Take it on to trial. Even to the point that the woman of God had to come back and said, Prophet, are you sure? I says, well, all I see is that he's going to be free. He's going to be okay. Don't even worry about it. What do you do when you get the professional saying one thing and the prophet saying another? Did that individual have to do any time for that situation, Prophetess Boyce?
No, Master Prophet. Not the time that was already spent. They were free, Master Prophet.
I dare everybody to say free at last.
Free at last.
On the word of the Lord. If they had not come to the prophet, what would have happened, Prophetess Boyce?
He would have still been in jail, Master Prophet.
But on the prophet's word today, he's what?
He is free at last.
And to the very first story that I told you, because it reminded me as I'm standing here in California, I was in the church of the late prophetess Carolyn Harrell. A woman was standing in the line with an offering. At that time, it was a $100 seed. I looked at this woman, and I said to this woman, your son is going to be set free and will be coming home. I knew nothing about the woman, knew nothing about the son. Had I had natural knowledge, maybe I would not have spoken that word, because it would have taken God to educate me on another level of faith. Prophetess Carolyn Harrell dropped her head and said, oh my God, these were her words. She says, I think Prophet missed this one. That boy is on death row, and he is guilty of the crime that has been charged. Say, free at last.
Free at last.
And if you have not done your $35 seed, you might not have a court situation, but you've got a situation that has you in a spiritual bondage or captivity. I'm here to tell you that it's time for you to be free at last. You might be making slave wages. It's time for you to be free at last. You might be in a situation that has you in a vice. It's time for you to be free at last. Plead my cause, O Lord. Fight against those that are fighting against me. You may have family members that are fighting against you right now. You need to have your $35 seed speaking on your behalf. You may have people that are on the job hating on you. You need to have your seed speaking on behalf of you. Well, the woman went on home. The governor woke up one day and says, I want to do something nice in the state of California. And guess what? He says, I want to free one prisoner out of the system. Guess what happened to that mother's son? He was what?
Free at last.
Free at last. I want you to know tonight, some of you are going to taste freedom in an area that you could not taste it before. You're getting ready to taste God in a situation you've never tasted him in before. Something is getting ready to happen in your peace of mind. Something's going to happen that's going to bring you joy divine. And I want you to know that right now, you need to begin to move forward and get your seed of obedience in the ground. Something brand new is coming unto you. Tonight I sense that the word of the Lord is not only going to be provocative, but it's going to send you on your next course of action. I see God multiplying back unto you all the money that you use, all the money that you need, in a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment. I want those of you that will dare to trust God and say, Master Prophet, I've heard your word and my faith is speaking. And I want you to begin to put a 1 in front of that seed and say, 35 was not even a stretch for me. I need to do something that will stretch me, because that's the only way, Prophet, you can grow me. And as you begin to move forward tonight, I want you to know that God's